welcome to Kate B channel. Welcome. I'm Kate. I'm going live stream with you today from Central Florida. It's a beautiful afternoon in Central Florida, Orlando area, and I hope you can hear me well because I'm using the mic. Welcome to my live stream. Happy Mother's Day. I hope your Mother's Day was as happy as mine, because we all need to feel loved and appreciated and to feel relaxed, to be pampered, to be fed. Today, no cooking, no cleaning. I'm taking it easy today, and that's all I wished for. I didn't wish for big, huge gifts. I just wanted to be with my family, and I just wanted to be relaxed, not doing a lot of chores around the house. So my husband surprised me and my girls by going to a nice a brunch, like nice hotel, very nice hotel, big buffet with a lot of seafood, with a lot of beautiful dessert options. So if you haven't watched my channel before, welcome. I'm Kate, I'm 48, I'm a mom of 2 girls, and I live in Central Florida. I'm an immigrant. I've been living in the United States for about 18.5 years, and I immigrated in 2006 from Republic of Moldova. It's Eastern Europe. So my first language is Russian. I speak Russian with my family. So English is my second language. So if you hear the accent, here I am, very unique Eastern European accent, and I live in the United States, and my vlog is about how I live in the United States, about motherhood, about travel, about everyday life, about, everything about just the lifestyle. So welcome to my channel, and today we're gonna talk about motherhood. Today it's a good day for me to go down the memory lane, to remember how happy I was to have my daughters. And if it's the only one thing I want to relive through virtual reality, will be the thing when the days when I had my babies. If they ever come up with AI, they can kind of like pop the memories out of your brain, or there is a virtual reality or something. You can put the virtual reality glasses and relive the day. There are 2 happiest days in my life when my 2 girls were born. Let me know how can you hear me, because I see I have 2 viewers, and if I have viewers, I want you to hear me well. I don't want to scream because I'm relaxed today. I'm sitting here in my beautiful bathroom. I got 2 big bunches of roses. This is from my daughters, and the red ones, the red roses are from my husband, and I got a balloon. So I was very happy this morning when my family surprised me with the nice mother's gifts. So I was thinking that the happiest 2 days in my life were when my both daughters were born. So motherhood was always an important topic for me. And at the end of the day, I'm 48, and looking back, my daughter is almost 16. She's turning 16 next Thursday. She's gonna start driving by herself. She's like turning into independent, young, I don't know, adult, maybe not adult, but young, how you call it, adolescent. And it has its ups and downs, but I'm very happy who she is and how well she's doing in school academically, and how nice and of a person she is. So I think I did well, but you don't realize it until you see being happy, being good at school, being good, like they fit in socially, they have friends, and they get awards at school, they're involved in a lot of projects, and you can't really appreciate yourself for all the effort you've done as a mom. So today I encourage you to go back and reflect, and if you have doubts, just look at your kids, how they're doing, and if you see them having happy childhood, you're a good mom. You're a good mom. You've done your job, you know. And if you see, you know, some days can be rough, some days can be easy, but you always look back and you praise yourself for having courage to have kids, for having courage to maintain happy relationship, to provide for your kids. And you always try to give yourself a little more credit for what you're doing, and just, you know, pick you up and every day keep telling yourself you're a good mom. So that's my message to you today. Troll boogies. Okay, I'm gonna read my messages, but I don't have a lot of messages so far. I have 4 viewers. Thank you, thank you. You can write my messages. Happy Mother's Day again. So today, yesterday I started the topic about people who want to have kids versus people who don't want to have kids. And I told you that I'm from the culture where people were very judgmental. Oh my gosh. Hi, RS. Welcome to my live stream. Тусня. 10:30, все пошли спать. Вот так, 70 years old party. I was ready to dance a little longer, but 10:30, the party was over. So, тусня была как для старичков. Wow, but I felt great. I went to a birthday party yesterday, so one of my viewers who comes often to my live stream asked me about how was the party, and it was 70 years old, my husband's, you know, partner's party from work, and there were a lot of people from work I knew for like the past almost 19 years. And we danced. We had a good time. We had very good food. The cake was beautiful. I got to film a little bit. I really enjoyed the wine room and everything. But you know, I was probably, after the birthday boy daughter, I was the youngest person there, and I still could dance a little bit and chill and have a good time. But 10:30 we had to leave because it's kind of like the party was pretty much over at 10:30. А что вы подарили, там можно было без подарков. Нет, у американцев нет прямо таких подарков на 70 лет, чтобы там, я не знаю, скидываться, покупать что-то большое. Мы принесли очень хорошую бутылку вина за $100, и другие люди, которые мы видели, которые что-то приносили, тоже приносили хорошее вино, потому что этот мужчина коллекционирует вино, у него есть отдельная комната, холодильник, куда прямо заходишь, и где у него большая коллекция вин, поэтому мы просто купили хорошее вино в подарок. И у него был такой торт, который был сделан в виде бутылки вина, но это я там немножко сделала, маленький шорт, так что посмотрите, было классно. Молодец, не с пустыми руками. Не, конечно. So, and today I was kind of wanted to sleep in, but my kids said that there is a surprise. We're going somewhere, so they told me I have to be ready by 9:15. So I got up around like 8:30 when they brought me flowers and everything. So I got like my makeup, I got like dressed up, I got my hair done, and we went to this brunch. And the brunch was like from 10 to like whatever. We stayed there until 12:30. So for 2.5 hours we were eating, chilling, going to the lake, walking around, eating desserts, eating good seafood. So it was very good, nice, relaxed morning. We went in the hammock, we went like to sit by the lake, we walked around together, got some steps in. It was relaxing, it was nice. I was a little bit of, you know, like I had a little bit of drinks right around like 11:30. They were serving mimosas, and because it was a nice hotel, it was like a buffet style. But buffet, you should see sushi, like fresh fish, fresh oysters. I probably ate at least dozens of oysters. I love oysters. They had big chunk of tuna, ahi tuna, and they served you tuna. Yesterday, for the party, they ordered catering. So the party, like I like American party. When the people want to have people in their house, it's not necessarily they have to cook all day to entertain people. So they ordered catering. catering services, and this catering services, there are like people who come and serve you, who set everything up, who bring food, who grill your food, who set up the table, who put all the food, and they clean up and they take care of everything. So the birthday guy and his wife, they could chill and relax and entertain and drink and dance like with other people, just having a party rather than, you know, hosting and being busy running around and serving people. So, you know, and I thought to myself, when I'm probably turning 50 and I want to have a party maybe in my house, who knows, if I decided to do that, I will do catering service, so I'll be more relaxed and I have people just, you know, accompany with food who will serve my guests. It was nice. But today for the buffet, the service was super nice. And people were dressed up, a lot of mothers with kids, matching outfits, a lot of people wearing lily because it's a resort style wear and it's like in May, so it's already hot. So and it was a nice 5-star hotel, and I kind of knew because we've stayed in that hotel for my I don't know, for my 45th birthday a couple of years ago. But we didn't do that buffet because buffet in May and my birthday was in August. But this is a very famous special Mother's Day, you know, brunch buffet, and they also have like lunch buffet later. But we decided to do the 10 because we wanted to have half a day together, and then like later on everybody, like my kids are watching the movie or they're talking to their friends, they want to hang out and have an easy Sunday afternoon. And my husband is watching his movie. He really likes to relax on Sunday afternoons. So I get to do my live stream and do what I like, blah, 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 talk. So yesterday I was talking about this family and about people deciding to have kids or not to have kids. And I may come across very judgmental. So, and that's how life it is. You're going to be judged anyways. Why didn't you have 2 kids? Why didn't you have 3 kids? Why didn't you have 4 kids? Why didn't you have like 1 kid? You know, and if you don't have kids, they're still gonna judge you. What's wrong with you? Maybe you're unhealthy. You know, that's the culture we lived in. That's where we lived back in the day when I grew up. And they would ask you, why didn't you get married? Why didn't you have kids? Why can't you have kids? Something wrong with you, you're broken. So people tell you in the face. And that's what the culture back then, you know, that's how I grew up. Привет, happy Mother's Day. James WT, welcome. Привет, спасибо, thank you very much. I say спасибо in Russian. So, you know, you can be whatever. And at the end of the day, like I have my kids and they're Americans. They're more tolerant. They grow in a different culture. They're more tolerant. They're more calm. They're not as reactive. They don't care about people's business. They're not as observant. They sometimes, I would say they're sometimes, you know, don't want to be in somebody's business. They're still young. They don't care how people behave, whether they want kids. They don't know life yet, but they're very kind. They're very, you know, I wasn't like that in my childhood. We were always standoffish, you know, like we grew in an environment where we always had to protect ourselves, you know, protect ourselves from blunt people, protect ourselves from unkind people, protect ourselves from bullying. So my kids are nothing like that. My kids are very relaxed. They enjoy life. They don't judge people. They're very pure in that sense. My grandfather was Swiss German, so I didn't hug much, lol. Yeah, now we are more warm. We do hug. We are very, yeah, we're very, you know, touchy in our family. We love kisses, we love hugs. We're very, it's our language of love. So my mom kind of, like, I was the youngest, so I got a lot of hugs and kisses from my mom. Like I kind of felt like she loved me. After all, even if I wasn't a boy, she really wanted a boy because I was the 3rd girl. But in the end of the day, I was the youngest and I could get away with a little more than my sister could get away. So I think my mom was a little biased, like she would expect my older sister to, you know, take care of me sometimes or do more around the house, and I kind of got away with things. But when my sisters left the house, I was the only one. My mom had very high expectations for me, and she was sometimes like, my kids would say, "Mom, don't yell." You know, I say, my mom yelled at me and I turned out okay. I turned out like disciplined. I turned out organized. I turned out hardworking. So sometimes when I yell and I just, you know, I push them, I just have high expectations, and I say, everybody yell. If I don't yell at you, you know, that I'm not doing my job right. Yes, still don't like touching or hugs. Unless you ask me, I will give you a hug. Okay, yeah, I'm the oldest. Okay. So you were put into a lot of pressures as the oldest. Oldest kid always gets a lot of pressure just to be a good example for younger siblings. You know, but now things is different. Now the society build your own family around your own values. If you faith, if you know, trust that everything in God's hand, but hard toward your goals, toward your family values, just keep everybody safe, you know, make sure everybody's happy, make sure everybody doing well at school. You know, it's my job as a mom to tell them right from wrong. And if I yell, it just, you know, it's just my character, just my way of doing my job. And sometimes, you know, I can be mean at work, you know, there's some kind of work etiquette, but at home I'm who I am. And a lot of times I do feel like I become, at some point I'm becoming like my mom, and I don't want that. But I can see the balance. I'm different because I've been living in the different culture, in the totally different society for the past almost 20 years. So I think I'm a good mom. I'm between European and, you know, like Asian tiger mom and like American lenient or like whatever easygoing mom. I'm trying to be somewhere in between. I'm trying to get the best features from different moms and just, you know, tell my kids that, you know, even if I'm a bad cop later in life, 15 years, like 20 years down the road, when they have their own kids, they will know why I felt like that every certain moment. Because sometimes if I yell, that's how I express my, you know, my anxiety. That's how I express that I express my feelings, that I, you know, my doubts, that I didn't teach them right. So my mom used to say, if you don't yell at you, then you won't get it into your head growing up. Yeah. And, you know, I don't believe in those, like, you know, parents that will always say, we never yell, you know. I'm like, you always have like a badass in the family, good cop and bad cop. Like my husband is a good cop. He doesn't yell. He's a good parent. He has other tactics. And because I have girls, we're raising daughters, they love and adore their dad, and they have very good relationship. And my husband is more about negotiating techniques. My husband is more about like explaining things, being patient, blah blah blah. I'm a bomb, you know. I'm like, if I'm not happy with something, I'm gonna tell you on the spot. And if you're not like listening, if you're oblivious, if you're ignorant, there are gonna be consequences, you know. Like, know your stuff, be organized, be clean, be focused. You know, my expectations are super high. If I come across like a mean mom sometimes, you're gonna thank me later. You're gonna thank me like 20 years down the road. You're gonna understand, because I'm turning you into independent adult down the road. You know, I'm telling you right from wrong. So that's my job. If I'm mean, yes, that's my job to be mean sometimes. So that's my feeling, you know. And of course, we're all humans, we're not robots. Some days I'm overflowing them with love, presents, shopping sprees, like good life, taking them on like those fancy vacations, blah, 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 buying them every little thing they want, splurging, you know, giving them the world. But some days I can be me mom, and I can tell, hey, listen, I told you 3 times to bring down your laundry. If you don't do that within the next 5 minutes, you're doing it your own, you know, on your own, or you're gonna not, you know, have fresh laundry, and you're gonna leave off whatever dryer. Your laundry gonna sit in the dryer, and you're not gonna have folded clothes for the week. So I'm trying to, I don't have patience to sit down and explain blah blah blah. I'm like firing up. It's like an army, you know. You don't get it first time, there are gonna be consequences. You learn from your mistakes. And I'm gonna be mean mom, so I'm gonna be a bear mom. And sometimes I can be a cat mom. I can be loving, cuddling, you know. When it's time for their birthdays or celebrations, we go out of the way to make them feel special. So my kids are spoiled. Yeah, I'm an alien, not a human. I'm 43, will be 44. Lord willing, in October. I negotiate too. Yes, negotiation is great. I fold clothes, but it takes me 4 to 7 business days. No way. Like Saturday and Sunday, if we don't have pile of clothes by Sunday night, I get a little mean. So by Sunday night, everybody has their piles folded and we're ready for the week. Like now, I know we did most of the laundry yesterday, so today is just a day of relaxing. Today nobody is cleaning, nobody is cooking. We had beautiful, buffet. We're gonna have something for lunch, light, or for maybe for dinner. I'll cook salad and I cook something for my kids, what they like for lunch, but it's not gonna be super involved cooking today. So I'm just taking it easy and I'm relaxing. So what's important I learned being 48, like if somebody tells me that 10 years ago, I wouldn't believe that, because I have to have my own experiences. I have to have my own ups and downs. I have to have my own feelings, my own, anxieties, to understand how life works. So at 48, I'll give you advice. If you don't give yourself a break, nobody magically comes and give you a break, So like a wisdom to the moms, if you're tired, if you have toddlers, if you have too much going on, just take a break. Find a way, find the helpers, pay the helpers, find, I don't know, grandma, find a neighborhood mom, find a teenager who wants to make few bucks babysitting, and just take a break. Because we put so much pressure on ourselves as moms. Sometimes I was too anxious to let this control go, to let this responsibility go, and nobody understands around you what's going on, why you're snapping, just because you're tired, just because you're overloaded. So if you're not 48 yet, let's say you're 35 and you have 5 years olds or 10 years olds, and you really get overwhelmed with home duties, with kids, just find a way to get help. Ask your husband nicely, arrange a babysitter, pay a neighbor to babysit for 2 or 3 hours, and just get out, do nothing, sit, lay down, take a nap. Because if you're not having that energy and that resource, nobody gonna come and magically give it to you. You have to arrange it yourself, pretty much. But my mom passed away a long time ago when I was 24, and I have my dad, and my dad has like expectations, because my dad is a Soviet a product of the Soviet communism system, where you're like a soldier. You cannot whine, you cannot complain, you cannot be tired. There are certain expectations, certain standards, and they pretty much want you to be a robot, to be available 24/7. If you decided to have kids, take care of your kids, clean your kitchen, cook for your kids, make their lunches. So my dad doesn't give me a lot of sympathy. My husband does give me a lot of sympathy. That's why he buys me my husband buys me Spar certificates. And I'll give you a good tip. This is the Spar certificates, and I go like maybe every 2 or 3 months for the spa for the whole day. So those certificates, yep, I used to date a Russian woman. Yeah, my cousin. Kid and looked them to the movies. Younger kid and took them to the movies. I remember like that. My aunt had younger kids and took them to the movies. Yes, my cousins. Yes. So I get the spa certificate, and if you like to save money like we do, oh my gosh, believe it or not, we're not extreme couponings, no, but if we know the discounts are there, we're gonna use them. So if you have Costco membership on the website, you can buy those spa certificates, and they're gonna be 20%. Like you can buy $80, like $100 to the spa, but you can buy it at Costco for $80, and it makes sense. It's 20% savings. It's 20 bucks, 20 bucks is 20 bucks. Why don't you save 20 bucks? And especially when I go for my facial, it could be $200. So on $200, I'm saving 40. So that's a great, idea to save. So if you have Costco membership and you want to give your wife or your partner a break, just buy them freaking, gift certificates to the spa, and they can find They can find the facilities, massage or facial or whatever they like, nails or hair salon. They can find you know, any town by the zip code. They can find the facilities that take this money. This is pretty much money, you know. So Costco sell 2 of those, $50 each. 2 of those make $100, but Costco sells it for $79.99. But sometimes Costco sells it even for $69.99, and that is $30 off. You know, $30 of 100 is 30%. So, you know, like over the years, I've been using those for the past probably like 5 or 7 years. Over the years, I've saved at least $1,000 on this spa certificate. So, and my husband is really good. He knows that I like spa. He knows that I like to go for a day. And the spa you can find in your town, in your city. You know, you can find a nice hotel. You don't have to stay in the hotel to use the spa. And a lot of like fancy hotels like Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, JW Marriott, they have spas and amenities. You can use them for the day. If you buy a service in the spa in a nice 5-star hotel, they allow you to use the amenities. You can go sit by the pool, you can have like lunch at the restaurant, you can use saunas, you can use steam rooms. Usually you can spend the whole day in the spa. They have teas, they have coffees, they have mimosas, champagne. So if you pay $200 for the facial and you spend the day at the spa, it's totally worth it. That's how I recharge myself. That's how I'm telling you the wisdom. But 10 years ago, I couldn't do that. Nice seeing you. Talk to you later. Thank you, James. Thank you for stopping by. It's very nice of you to be here with me on my live stream and writing those kind comments. Thank you. Thank you. Come again. So, you're a doctor to yourself. Like I'm telling you. This is the wisdom. If you're 30, you're 35, you're 38, if you're between 30 and 40, your kids are still young and you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you're like a horse at some point, because I was a working mom, you know, I worked 40 hours at work and then I come to home and it's my second shift. I deserved the break, but because I was so anxious and I was so controlling, I was so harsh on myself, I was very responsible, I didn't want to loosen up myself, I was very responsible. I thought if I stop, the world gonna stop, you know, my kids have nothing to eat, you know, or my kids not gonna have clean clothes, or if my kitchen gonna, like I had it from my childhood, if my kitchen is not clean, they're gonna be roaches and it's the end of the world, you know. Guess what, in Florida we have roaches anyways. And when I'm like, okay, we'll have roaches. But if I, you know, when I started my therapy, my therapist just pretty much told me, just one day go to bed without starting your dishwasher. And I'm like, no, I cannot do that to myself. She said, why? Because I'm going to wake up literally at 11:30 and I'm going to remember that I didn't start my dishwasher. I'm going to get up at 11:30, go back to the kitchen and start my dishwasher. That's how controlling I was. And then when I tried to go in therapy and just figure out how to make my life a little easier, she told me, what's going to happen if you didn't? And guess what? Things started magically happen. Somebody else could start a dishwasher, you know? Like, people are not helpless. People around you are not helpless. They're also adults, and if you put it on yourself, you're going to be doing it all by yourself. But, you know, learn how to delegate, learn how to ask nicely, you know. And all of a sudden, I'm like, if one of the days I don't start my dishwasher, it's still going to be started. If it's not going to be started at night, the you know, world is not going to end. And in the morning, who cares, you know, it can be started in the morning, you know, and the other stuff can be piled up in the sink. Like when I was a kid and I was growing, my mom, we didn't have dishwashers. If she sees dishes piled up in the sink, she will go nuts. You know, she will go nuts because she'll tell us that going to be roaches in the kitchen. It's going to be a disaster. Something can happen. The water can, you know, go through because of the dishes in the sink. So we were so disciplined to make sure we wash the dishes before we go to bed. And here, like, we have a dishwasher, so it's not a big deal. You don't start your dishwasher at night, you start it in the morning. The world is not going to stop. But it took me therapy, it took me some time to figure things out, to let this control go. And at 48, I can tell that a lot of hormonal changes coming in, perimenopause kicks in, and you learn how to fix yourself, you know. On top of this, you know, body changes, if you don't prepare yourself mentally, and if you don't learn how to let things go and how be more relaxed, less controlling, less anxious, nobody gonna help you. You're gonna just be cuckoo. You're gonna be nuts. You're gonna be, you know, like bark at everybody. You're gonna be like going miserable. You're gonna hate the world. You're gonna hate people around you. So you have to be your doctor to yourself, and you have to learn techniques to cope. You have to learn the tools to make you less overwhelmed, less tired. You have to learn what works for you to eliminate stress. You can't eliminate stress, but at least alleviate it, at least to make things a little less stressful by getting a lot of good food, by having good sleep, you know, or just at least like trying to minimize the conflicts and trying to, you know, like let things go on the calendar if you too busy or something like that. So, and nobody gonna do it for you, you know, unless you have a personal assistant, unless you have like AI, or unless you have whatever team working for you. Nobody gonna be your nanny, you know, nobody gonna help you. You're an adult, you deal with your roaches in your head all by yourself. So my wisdom to you, if you have young kids, you feel overwhelmed and you want to feel, you know, refreshed, go to the spa, find help, find 2 hours for yourself to watch a movie and do nothing. The world is not going to stop if you take a break. So my wisdom to the moms who are between 30 and 40, you feel overwhelmed, you feel snappy, you feel overworked and tired, take a break. Take a break, lady. You deserve a break. You're a good mom. You deserve a break. After a break, you get your energy back. You snap back in the soldier mode. You're a good mom. You're a robot again. But take as many breaks as you want. You know, and I don't encourage you to lay in bed all day. You know, like to lay in bed. I don't encourage you to lay in bed for 3 days and being like upset or mad about something or being depressed. Snap out of it. Take 2-hour breaks every day, or take like, I don't know, 1 weekend out of the month to do something for yourself, and you'll feel better. But anyways, yesterday I talked about, I was very mean, maybe I came across very mean and judgmental about people not having kids. I've been reading those comments I left at somebody else's video, and people say, yeah, when adults choose not to have kids and have like fulfilling life without kids, it's their choice. We shouldn't judge them for that. And regardless of income, regardless of you know, they can afford it, regardless of their, you know, situations, we shouldn't expect people to have kids. In my book, I expect people to have kids just because I want population to grow, and I want people to have enough people in workforce when I'm 90, and I want to have people in the workforce to pay, you know, to keep economy running, and I want people to be in the workforce to be a nanny for me when I need a nanny, when I'm old, or I need a nurse. So I want to have good workforce, and I strongly believe if the family of 2 can have another people, like having kids, another 2, they've done their job replacing themselves when they're old for the population and for the normal, you know, support of the economy and social system. But that's my belief, that's my value. Some people can be super selfish, or whatever you call them, egoistic. Some people have a lot of other circumstances. They can have generic condition they don't want to pass. They know in advance that their kids can have like super difficult, you know, conditions, health conditions, so they don't want to be a part of reproduction. And I understand that there are like valid excuses, but you know, I'm still gonna judge at some point because I don't know your backstory. I don't know all the details about you. But in my book, if I see a happy couple, if I see people who can afford kids, if I see people in a stable relationship having like good home and can provide for themselves. I expect them to have at least one kid to, reproduce, and to kind of like leave somebody behind, leave the people, the workforce, and the population behind them. So when I had my first kid, I didn't have as much help. I told you before that I didn't have as much help in the beginning, so I was left with that baby all by myself. But I was mature enough. I was 32, and I had a lot of experience babying. I was a nanny for many, many years. And when my nephew was born, my sister was married and she came back home. So I was 15. We had a baby in the house. And when I had this motherly instincts. I was so excited. So some girls have motherly instincts, some girls don't, and that's okay too. But I knew from the very early age that I want to have kids. I'm going to be a mommy at some point. I would be telling kids, when I was a kid, I would be telling people I'm going to have 4 kids, But now I'm like, oh my gosh, 4. We have 4 between me and my husband, because my husband was married before and he has another 2. So we do have 4 kids. So I was at some point like a oracle telling that I'm going to have 4 kids. Not necessarily, I gave birth to all 4 kids. But I had 2. And I'm content with that. But somewhere in the back of my mind, if I would be, younger, and if I would be healthier, and if the circumstances, I wouldn't get married that late. Like in my culture, I got married at 30, was kind of late. So if I would get married at 22, who knows? Maybe I would have 3 kids or 4 kids. I don't know. But at the back of my mind, I had my last kid at around 37. So I kind of knew it was my last kid, because I knew I kind of didn't want to have kids after 40. But, at the back of my mind, I would always think, like, if God gives me 3 or 4 kids, I would keep giving birth, because I loved the experience. It was the happiest 2 days of my life. But, at some point with my second child, I was too pragmatic, I didn't get to enjoy life with the baby that much. So sometimes I think, I missed out on being like too involved in this baby stage. And I don't know if you have those feelings sometimes, because this year after you give birth, it goes so fast. But you're wrapped up in this like emotions and this busy life that sometimes you think you didn't hold your baby enough. You didn't like hold your baby and cuddle with your baby enough. So that's why maybe some women want to have 3rd or 4th kids, just to catch up on this baby, like baby feelings. So sometimes you think you didn't have enough of this, baby smell, And because here in the United States, we were forced to go back. We don't have maternity leave, and it's up to you. I wanted to build some sort of career. Happy. Ariane Sharma, welcome. Hello. So here in the United States, there is no maternity leave per se. Maybe now you get 6 months, something. But people, it's not necessarily 6 months all paid. If you have your vacation time, if you have your FMLA or whatever, like it's called family medical leave of absence, if it falls under, FMLA, and you can take maternity leave, let's say for 6 months, and you don't lose much income. But nowadays the economy is so bad that moms have to work to have like 2 incomes. It's better for everybody. You decide to have kids, and maybe your husband doesn't make as much money. Daycare is very expensive, but you have to plan it financially. You have to figure things out, and you have to have a knowledge. It's your responsibility to have a knowledge, With the first kid, I didn't have good job that paid me benefits, so I could stop my job and I could get my job back when I put my daughter in a daycare when she was almost 2. But when I had to go back to college and to work, I didn't have work with benefits. I worked just for hourly pay. I didn't have any insurance plan. I didn't have any retirement plan. I didn't have, I only made money hourly, and I kind of didn't have much to lose. So when it was time to stay with my kid, I couldn't afford daycare and work for $12 an hour and pay for the daycare. But at some point when my daughter was 2, I wanted to go back to work because I wanted to be in the workforce, and I wanted to You know, I was so ambitious to have experience, to see people, to have social connections. I couldn't stay at home and just be a caregiver all the time to my, 2-year-old. When she was a toddler, I was ready to put her in a daycare, and I didn't make much. I still made $12 an hour, but I put her in the nicest daycare. I could see her on the cameras. Back then it was like a big deal. 2011, we had this like fancy preschool open like right next to our house, like maybe 5 minutes away. And I loved that preschool. It was brand new, it was clean. I trusted the teachers. I went to see it. And when I signed her up to go to the school, first few days I could watch her on the camera, and of course I had like hard feelings put in her. But at 2 years old, my daughter was a little bit over 2 when I put her in a daycare first time, and I didn't make much money. So 2/3 of my paycheck would go to the daycare, but I gave opportunity myself to keep the job, to have my experience, I kind of wanted to have my resume without gaps. But people are different. Mothers can give up even a great paid job with the benefits. Mothers can even give up their careers just because they have this instinct to care for the baby, and they have hard time to put the baby in the daycare. Everybody's situation is different, but United States is so tough. There is no reliance on the government unless you're poor. Like, you get punished for your good behavior. Like, I had to work, I had to make my own money and pay for my daycare, and I never asked for the social support just because I made money and my husband made money, because we had stable jobs. But people use and abuse the system. So I'm anti-socialist. I ran away from freaking Soviet Union, where everything was so socialist, like where everything were like gray mass. And if you live well, you probably like taking bribes, or you probably do something illegal to live well. And if you live well, they can come after you and you put you in jail just because they find out where you have like illegal incomes. So my dad, he had a good career, but he relied on the government a lot because, government paid for his apartment. Later on, he could privatize it, so he never had to pay his rent, Back in the Soviet Union, like, because he was an engineer, he gets a bigger apartment. When my dad had 3 kids, they got a bigger apartment from the government. He just paid the utility bills, and this was a government apartment, So my dad wasn't worried about making a career or money that badly like we worry about making money and career here to support our families, to give our kids better education. My parents didn't think about giving me better education because education was free. In the Soviet Union, you can go to the university and education was free. What was the quality? Nobody cared, because if you go to the university, they give you, government provides you some kind of job, and you go to the job and you don't like the job, you don't make enough money, but you're gonna still be in that job. And the communist system make everybody very, like even poor, and the poor mass, it's easy to manage. Here, we came to this country to work hard, make better money, have better opportunities for our kids, and hopefully pay for their better education later on. Like, we want our kids to have a good base to start an adult life, and that's our job, to provide them a better education. So we work hard now in order to save some money for our kids' college, or to pay for their education now so they can get into a better college, So we work hard here, not relying on the freaking government, not relying on the communist system, and not relying for a freaking social paycheck, We are here to work hard, build a career, grow, and freaking work 40 hours, 50 hours, or 60 hours per week, just to get better, just to get better opportunities and better opportunities for ourselves and our kids, better than we did when we were kids, or when our parents relied on the government that much. So when we decided to have a second child, I know it's gonna sound very pragmatic, but I got this new job with the benefits, and that job, I started the job in 2012 in February. And my daughter was almost 3, and I kind of I kind of thought that because she was in the daycare and she would be in the daycare until 5, until she starts public school, I have to pay for the daycare. And I told you that I didn't make a lot of money, so 2/3 of my paycheck would go to the daycare. So I was thinking to myself, I cannot afford 2 kids in the daycare for my paycheck. It's going to be, like, why would I go to work? I can stay at home and take care of my kids. Why would I pay the whole paycheck for my kids? I have no reason to work to give all this money to the daycare. So my plan was not to have 2 kids in the daycare at the same time. So that was my plan. And we talked with my husband, and I kind of like, yeah, it sounds too pragmatic. We're too, accountants, we're too math people, we're too money oriented. But we want to be financially stable. We want to be responsible. We want to give our kids the best. We don't want to send our kids to some random nanny without the license. We want to send our kids to the safe place. We want to send our kids to the best daycare with the cameras, with the licensed professionals, where if something happens, they're going to tell us and we're going to sue them if something happens with the kid, Like, we wanted to save our kid to the safest preschool in the area. And this preschool is never cheap, unless you get, use and abuse the government. Some people get away with getting good daycare, just, not showing their real incomes or abusing the social system here. There are people like that, like, let's face it. We don't want to do that, we didn't come to this country to cheat. So my plan was, I really wanted second kid. And I was always like 35, 36, 37, 38, and I wanted to have this kid before I turned 40 sometime. And I counted to myself, so by the time my kid go to preschool, but my first kid goes to public school at 5 years old, I don't have this, daycare for 2 kids. I only have daycare expense for 1 kid. And of course, people are not thinking like that. People are so romantic, they're in love, and I understand that kids can be a fruit of love, and kids can be an accident, babies can be an accident. I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, if you cannot support the child you give birth to, it's on you. There is no government, there is no mother and father who's going to be responsible for your kid. It's on you. You screwed up, you got in trouble, just try to find a way. Just try to find to make the ends meet. Try to find the solution. You can be sorry for yourself, you can live off the government paycheck, but I'm going to despise people who do that, because you don't put enough effort, you don't put enough thought. And I know babies can be fruits of love, and babies could be fruits of like good relationship, and then something went wrong, bad relationship. But this country, there are jobs everywhere. And believe me or not, you can get social support for the first couple of years, but if you don't work hard, if you don't want to, better opportunities and be better example for your kid, because you grow in the same schmucks who gonna, milk the social system if you're sitting on the social system for years. So I came here to the country, and as an immigrant, I didn't have any social support. I worked hard, I went to freaking college, I got my degree, I paid $20,000 for a freaking AS degree, I paid a lot of money for a freaking community college degree, but I started to work at $7.50 an hour just to make ends meet, just because I didn't want to go in debt, and I wanted to pay for my school before I settle, before I get married, before I have kids. I was responsible, I was responsible. My parents made me that responsible, and I came to this country not to be on the freaking government paycheck. I came to this country to do better, So I was getting old, and I didn't have to have kids around 40. I was like afraid of risks of being pregnant at 40 or after 40. I'm an anxious person. I was not relying on the health system here to have a kid after 40. So I told my husband I want to have a kid when my other kid is 4, and we kind of weighed everything in and out. And I started the job at 2012. And check this out, we had a friend, And she explained to us that she signed up to a special insurance plan at work, and that insurance was called short-term disability insurance. And she explained to us when she had her baby and she could take maternity leaves, this insurance would pay for a part of her maternity leave if she loses the income at her job, so she could stay a little longer. You know, instead of 12 weeks, she could stay like a little longer, and she still would get some support from the short-term disability insurance, like if she loses in wages, blah, blah, blah. You don't know about these things, but nothing stops you to educate yourself about these things. So I encourage you, you know, I'm not saying like I'm super smart. I just took an opportunity to learn these things. I just took an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper, just because our friend was smart and she was telling about her life story and how she didn't lose the income being on the short-term disability insurance. And she explained to me, check with your employer, maybe you have something similar. So I go and I check online, and of course I work for the community college I just graduated from, and I worked in the cafeteria for many years. After I graduated, I worked in the cafeteria for about 4 years after I graduated. But then, you know, I got some connections and I got a full-time jobs with benefit in the office in the college, and I kind of like deep digger, and of course they had this insurance. It costs a little more every month, but at the end you kind of set up a plan how much you pay towards your insurance premiums for this short-term disability insurance, and it's a pure math. I'm telling you, mathematics, algebra always makes sense. And if people hate math, you know, you're gonna regret later, because your financial stability, it all depends on some kind of math. Not math, mathematics. I know it sounds like nobody can get my accent. I say Kate and they can't get my name because they say Pate. I say no, Kate. You know, so if I say math, it probably sounds like methadone. Like I hope they don't block my live stream. But I mean math. Mathematics. So you gotta love math. I'm a math geek. I love math. So me and my husband will sit down. We'll look at the premiums. And this insurance costs $15 a month, or a paycheck or something, $30 a month. But check this out, $30 a month. It makes sense if you pay for this insurance couple of like years, like a little over the year. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work if your event, like let's say short-term disability, it occurs like 3 months after you sign up for the insurance. You have to read the small print. It says this insurance is not gonna work, you know, so you have to be smart. You have to plan. I know you don't plan your injury, but you can freaking plan your pregnancy. You can plan your, you know, there is some forms of birth control you can take. There are some ways of not having kids, like, you know, I know I sound too pragmatic, but my husband was building a career. We can't have kids in the busy season, from like tax season, from January to April, you know. It's just taboo, you know, because he was very busy at work. He was building his career. He wanted to spend time at work building his career, you know, doing his, you know, his thing. So I was responsible. I said, okay, we're not going to have a kid from January to April. We had a kid in May. So with the second kid, again, we have this very small window. We try, we take precautions. We don't try, we try, we don't try. Like, we got to have a kid before I get 40. So we have like this limitations. And I know it sounds awful. It sounds like too practical and pragmatic. It doesn't sound romantic. It doesn't sound like, you know, normal family just pop out a kid every year, like every 2 or 3 years, just because they want siblings to play with each other. But that's the way we did it. And I don't regret it, you know, I don't regret it, because I think I did it smart. I saved a lot of money. I saved my sanity. I found help to take, you know, my dad, to bring him from Eastern Europe, to let him, you know, immigrate to this country legally and to help me with my kids. So I think we were fortunate enough, just by sitting down and having a plan, kind of like seeing what we can afford financially and how to kind of like save ourselves from financial disaster, or save ourselves from losing my job, you know, because I liked my job in college. At some point, you know, it got really stressful and I changed it. But at first, I loved my full-time job. I loved the benefits. I loved building my own retirement plan when I started to work in 2012. And you think it was 13 years ago, but and you would think it's not a career, it's a job, and I don't care, because I have my own retirement plan. I feel like I'm in the workforce. I feel like I'm like have like some sort of ambition fulfilled and realizations as a woman, as an employer. I got some awards, like later in a different job. I got like a monetary award. And that's like it's not maybe like a career, but it's a fulfilling employment. It's something I like to do. It's something that I like to do because I have accounting background, and it kind of fits the boxes. But before that, when I got my job in college and I decided to have a second kid, I'm talking about this insurance plan, and this is called short-term disability insurance, and it doesn't work right away. Like, you have to pay at least a year your premiums. Like every paycheck, they take away your money. They take away $15 every paycheck. So if you work there for a year, this insurance starts paying you out only if your injury or whatever short-term disability happened after 12 months. So check this out. When I started my job in 2012 in February for this full-time job, pay benefits, I start to pay my insurance premiums in June. I sign up, they take money from my paycheck, I count down, I do a little Excel table, I budget. I call it budgeting, You do your part. Mathematics makes sense. So, and that friend told me about insurance. Do you want to read a lot of paperwork when they get you to work? Yes, you do, because sometimes this paperwork will be beneficial to you. So I wanted a second kid so badly, and I only had the small window because my insurance will start working if I have a kid from July to, let's say, I only have like 2 or 3 months window when I have a kid. Like, listen to that. And the other reason I don't want to have a kid after August, because in Florida, when you start free public school at 5, you have to be 5 years old on September 1st to be admitted to public school, right? And if your kid was born October, November, or December, that's it. That's the end of the year. You have to pay another year of the daycare, or like another year of preschool, to make them start when they're not 5, they're almost 6, And I kept this in mind. I talked to other parents, and everybody would say, oh, it's awesome to have a, summer baby, because summer babies go to school when they're 5 and you don't pay that extra year. And who's going to pay for daycare for 2 kids? Who wants to pay daycare? Like, my paycheck was $2,000. Who wants to pay $1,800 out of the $2,000 paycheck just for the daycare? Nobody wants that. So we managed to get this short-term disability insurance. And what it means that I have the small window to have a kid. And it sounds too pragmatic, but it worked out, people. It worked out. At some point, if you put the goals, you could wait another year. If it would work that year, we would wait another year, and I will probably be not 30, I'll probably be 38 when I have my kid. My other kid was born in 2013 when I turned 37. I turned 37 in 2013. I turned 37 on August 12th, and my kid was born on August 21st. So my plan worked. I've been paying to that short-term disability insurance, and by the time I worked enough, I built in my sick leave and my vacation. Yes, you don't go on vacation for the year because you save this vacation to be with your baby. You don't go on vacation 2 weeks before your pregnancy, before your birth, just because you're so big and you're tired and you're huge and you want to lay in bed. No, you save this freaking time for your maternity leave. You want to spend this time with your baby. And I don't care. It's all on you. You're freaking, I know people have like bad conditions. I know people have diabetes, or they have early labor because preeclampsia. And I don't talk about health conditions. I talk about healthy pregnancy. Like if you talk about healthy pregnancy, if you take care of yourself, you're healthy, you have healthy, uneventful pregnancy, you can work until the last day. Believe it or not, I've been carrying those big coffee containers when I worked until the last day. I was at work on May 7th, and that was my last weekend. It's interesting because my last weekend with my first kid, my last weekend was the Mom's Day, and I was pregnant. And after that Mom's Day, my daughter was born like that week after the Mom's Day, Mother's Day. So in May, when my first child was born, I worked until the end of the pregnancy. I pretty much worked until May 7th, and my daughter was born a week later, just because, you know, the semester was over, the cafeteria was, you know, closed for the break. They let me go, and I thought I have a couple of more weeks until June 1st, but my baby came early. I didn't plan to have her in May, but she was born in May, and she was super healthy and everything. She was born 4 weeks earlier, but she was super healthy, maybe 3.5 weeks earlier. So with the second child, I had to plan, and I wanted her to be born before September. And when I was 37, I had my second child. But with the second child, I already planned my maternity leave. My maternity leave, I saved all my vacation days. Like everybody got 12 days of vacation and 12 days of sick leave. Sometimes I could be sick and I will take a couple of sick days, you know, during the pregnancy. And I would take sick time anytime I need to go to the doctor, anytime I need to go like visit, you know, my monthly pregnancy, whatever checkups and stuff. But most of my sick leave and my vacation, I didn't go on vacation. Maybe we didn't go on vacation for the whole year before the baby came, because we couldn't afford the vacation. We put money aside for the more important goals. And I saved my day of vacation just to be with my baby, to be able to pay for my maternity leave. So when I had my child, I only had about 5 weeks saved in my 5 weeks, check this out, about 5 weeks saved for my vacation and sick leave. You can take this as FMLA. You can claim all these days at once when you have this, you know, major health event, and FMLA is like taking care of the baby. It's a part of FMLA arrangement. FMLA is Family Medical Leave of Absence, and a lot of jobs, a lot of like state jobs or government jobs, they have it. And a lot of corporate jobs have it. You just need to be, you know, smart and learn those things. So FMLA. And why I'm telling you that, because it's a part, I believe it's a part of smart motherhood. It's not like all of a sudden you decide to have babies and you're like, who cares? The government will feed my kids anyways, you know. No, it's your responsibility. You decide to pop out that baby, you better take care of your baby. You feed them, you buy them clothes, you pay for their daycare, you take them on, you know, like you take them on after school activities. It's your freaking responsibility. Government has zero responsibility for your kid. Yes, they give you a little support, they give you little tax credits, and you know, like they give you, you know, government gives you enough, believe me or not. It's your responsibility. You decide to be a parent, you better have money to raise that kid. I don't care. I have no excuses, you know. If I could do it, I'm an immigrant, and if I could do it with a $2,000 paycheck every month, you could do it too, believe it or not. So, why I'm getting so aggressive talking about it? Because I'm tired of people just sucking up the government money and not, you know, making anything, you know, to make themselves better, and they just pop a kid after kid after kid, and after getting like the tax money, like the tax credit money, they go and they, you know, spend stuff in the mall for themselves rather than on their kids. And I hate that. I hate the social system suckers. Yeah, I despise people like sucking social system like that. So I ran away from socialism, and I came to this country not to be a part of socialism. That's it, period. That's my point. That's my strong point. Anyways, so it worked out to have my kid, and I had this vacation and sick time saved. But after 6 weeks, who's gonna pay? And here the short-term disability insurance kicks in. It doesn't pay the whole wage. It pays about 75% of your wage, but it's still good money to be on maternity leave and not to lose like your income completely. So I could stay, like, let's say I had about 5 weeks, I had 5 weeks, 5 full weeks of my FMLA, which is like full pay for my vacation and for my sick time. And for the rest of 7 weeks, because I stayed 12 weeks total, and for the rest of 7 weeks, here's my short-term disability insurance paid for my like 75% of my wage. And that's how we manage, because I wanted, otherwise I would just stay 5 weeks at home and I had to go give up my baby and go back to work. So what else we did smart? Like, I asked my sister to help me bring my dad in the country, because my sister was a citizen back in the day and she was able to petition for my dad. If you have all the parents in your country, you're allowed to petition for them to come to this country legally, and they can live with you, you can support them, or they can work whatever age they are. If they want to work legally and be here, you can petition for their green card to be permanent resident. So my sister helped me to claim my dad to come here to be a permanent resident to get his green card, and my sister helped me with the paperwork so our dad can legally come and live with us. So when my daughter was born, my second child was born, my dad had a purpose. He came here to be a full caregiver for my little one. So when my daughter was 3 months old, my dad was a full-time caregiver for my sweet little baby, second child, because I had to go back to work at 12 weeks. My daughter was about 12 weeks, 3 months old, and my dad came to the country legally to be a permanent resident. My dad came about like July, and I gave birth in August. My dad stayed with us. I showed him around. He had a sense of purpose. He was in his good spirit and his good health. He was 70 years old. Like, how old was my dad? My dad was 70. My dad was 71. Can you imagine, like, do you have a dad who agrees at 71 to be a babysitter? Oh my gosh, my dad is a rock. My dad is my solid rock. And he said he pays now just because he wasn't involved as much in raising us, because he was busy with his career, providing for his family. He was going to a lot of, business trips. My dad was engineer. He was building the electro power stations, like power plants and stations. And he was busy traveling like around the Soviet Union, building all this. He even built Chernobyl at some point, way before Chernobyl had an accident. But my dad was a part of this, building engineers team who would go around the country and build different power plant stations. So my dad didn't raise us as much as he raises my daughters now. So he's like, my gosh, I pray every day. My dad stays like in good health and good mind, because he's the rock of this family. Like, I wouldn't have Mehdi. I wouldn't have we planned it for my dad to be here legally with us and live with us and help us with the kid. But at 71, ask your dad if your dad wants to be a caregiver to a baby. Not many parents. There is no such culture here in the United States like, ask me at 71 if I want to be a babysitter to my kids, unless I want to help them, unless I'm retired and I don't have a job. Yes, I want to help them. If my kids ask me to help me, yes, I'll be there to help me. But do I know how I'm going to feel at 71? Maybe I'll be like a miserable, unhealthy adult that can't take care of the baby. My dad was healthy at this point, and he had a purpose. He was a widow for a long time. He was depressed. He was lonely when we brought him, it gave him a purpose. I kind of believe it gave him a purpose, and he's so much loved now, my dad. Like, he gets so much more rewarding and warm feelings from his granddaughters every day that you can't get it anywhere else, unless you're loved in your own family. So if my daughters ever need me and I'm at 71 and I'm in good health, I have to pay back, you know, I have to pay it forward. You know, if my dad did it for me, if my kids at some point need me to do that for them, of course I'll pay it forward. I'll pay it forward. I'll try to keep myself, you know, in good spirits and good health and good mind. And if my kids ever need help when they have their own kids, I'll try to be there for them. That's what, you know, that's what grandparents try to do, at least. Maybe not full time, but because my dad lives with us, it's easy to make it full time. So my dad took care of my daughter since she was 3 months. And by the time my girls are 4 years apart. So by the time my daughter was 2 and she was ready to go to daycare, we only had one daycare expense. And my other daughter was already in kindergarten and first grade by the time Stella, my youngest kid, went to daycare. So that's how we planned it. That's how we did it. Was it too pragmatic? Was it too, like you say, too, yeah, it was like, was it too unhumane? Like it wasn't easy? Was it too planned and controlled? Yes, it was. Yes, very much so. But I also think this like control was also a part of our responsibility, not to ask, you know, the government to help me with the kid, or not to drop off my job, you know, because I wanted to keep my job, you know, I wanted to have my retirement plan, I wanted to have my medical insurance plan, I wanted to have the benefits I get from work, you know, being employed. And again, I don't say it's a career, but it's some sort of realizations, you know, being useful, using your skills and knowledge outside of the house, outside of your household, outside of family. It's important for me to be appreciated somewhere else. It's important to me to, you know, distribute my energy, my knowledge, my, you know, education, my, I don't know, my whatever, to share my brain for the good of the big organization where I work now. You know, it's important for me to do something meaningful. It's important for me to go to work every day to build my own retirement plan. It's a lot of benefits I find in being employed full time. So do I regret I didn't spend more time and, you know, gave up my job? At this point, when my kids are grown and they're 11, they turned out okay. They're well-rounded. I could provide the best daycare for them. After my younger daughter turned 2, we put her in the same school. My older daughter was like preschool. Yes, it was expensive. The prices were growing for the daycare. Did she get great, you know, start of, you know, the you know, education at this preschool? Yes, definitely. Was it worth the money I paid for? And by the time she was 2, I got this other job and I got paid a little more, so I could afford that daycare. And of course, my dad helped me with taking kids after school, bringing them to activities. He could drive. Of course, my dad is still a caregiver to my children, and that's the support. Hi, lady. Hi, Kirst. Welcome to my live stream. Happy Mother's Day to you. I don't know if you have kids, but happy Mother's Day. Hope you had good Mother's Day and spent some time with your mom. So why I'm telling you that? Because I'm all for, I'm a person that I applaud people who can have a responsible motherhood rather than just being a parent is tough. You know, life is tough in general, and I want people to reproduce. I want people to leave new generation behind us, but I want people to have responsible parenting. I don't want people to rely on government or somebody to just be sorry for them, or socialism, you know, to grow your kid. I want people to understand that whatever form of the family you have, you know, it kind of like gets an example for your kids. It kind of gets like a role model for the kids you're growing. So if you fit in the society, if you're if you're healthy yourself, if you're employed, if you're raising your kids without cheating, without teaching them to cut the corners, I think your kids gonna have this model, like genetically, they're gonna see you, and they're gonna rely on the experiences you provided for them as a kids, and they're gonna be very stable and independent adults. Is it really Mother's Day in the USA? Yeah, it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. May 11th, 2025. And I had a very good day. My husband and my daughters took me to such a beautiful place, gorgeous place with amazing seafood, fresh seafood, lots of fresh flowers, beautiful amenities, amazing service. We went to the 5-star hotel and we had brunch, and I had a couple of beautiful champagne drinks with some berries, and I had beautiful desserts. I ate a lot. So tomorrow I started diet again. I said, diet again tomorrow. Mother is everything. My mom passed away. My mom passed away in 2000 when I was 24. My mom passed away at 59 years old. Unfortunately, I think about my mom a lot today, and I think she would be proud of me, and she would love her grandchildren a lot, like regardless. My dad said Happy Mother's Day to me too. He said, you're a good mom. So at least I got a little praise from my dad. And then I called my sister today, because my sister, she lives in Germany, and I called her and we got to talk together, and I love her. She's my rock. I got to tell her how excited I was to spend time with my family and to have fun for Mother's Day and to get like special treats. I knew they were doing something, because my little one, she told me, Mom, it's a surprise. Do you want 10 o'clock or 1:30? And I kind of thought that there is arrangement to have brunch or to have lunch. And I chose brunch because like the rest of the day can be like, we can take it easy. We don't need to rush. If we go for lunch, the day would be kind of cut in half. So I'm very practical. Oh my gosh, if you would be around me, you will know I don't like to waste time. I don't like to waste money, and I'm frugal, but I like good things and I like expensive things. And this brunch was like, oh my gosh. But we didn't go on a trip. It was like staycation. It's a half day in a beautiful place. It's like totally worth every dollar, because we work hard. We have 2 incomes, and I'm proud that we can afford it. So thank you, Kirst. Thank you for being here. But I miss my mom, My dad is not the same as my mom. My dad is a dear person to me. He's such a good man, helping me with my daughters. But, he's different. Mom is different. Dad is different. But you gotta love, your parents regardless, If my dad is here for me, and that's the most important. Presence is a gift, So I can handle his little snarks, and I can handle his little criticizing, I can handle his he's cold. He's more like from up north. He's like more Russian, cold and blunt. My mom was more southern temperament. My mom was more like me. Like she was open, she was kind, she was like there giving herself out to people, and my mom was more, I think my mom was more vibrant and like emotional, and my dad is like a little more reserved and cold, like I would say. But nevertheless, he loves his grandchildren. Sometimes I think he loves his grandchildren more than he loved us, like as kids. So I get jealous a little bit, but that's the way of life. Like I probably like my grandchildren more because, I can play with them, I can spoil them and give them back to the parents, So I'll probably love my grandchildren as much as my dad loves his grandchildren. But we'll see. Not yet, Dad. Not yet there. I am not ready to be a grandparent. Not anytime soon. Maybe like, my daughter's 16. Give me a break. Maybe like another 10 years or 14 years. Like when she's 30. Maybe when she's 30. I'll be ready in 14 years. Maybe in 14 years we'll go back and I'll tell you if I'm 62, 63, I will be ready to be grandma, but not yet. Please, I want them to get education. I want them to have stable relationship, but it doesn't depend on me. I'm not the boss of them. If they're 18, that's it. you know, who knows how the life gonna treat me. I say I don't want to be a grandma. I can be a grandma because my stepson is 30, so who knows, I can be a grandma any day. And I will be a good grandma. I will be a good loving grandma. So enjoy your parents, enjoy your moms when you can, because life is, you know, unpredictable. I lost my mom, I miss my mom, but you know, you know, I had some, when I was a teenager, we were going through a rough time with my mom, but now I miss her because I would be an adult and she would see that I turned out okay, that she'd done her job well, and she would be proud of me. She would be proud of me with my own kids. She would be proud of me, of a mother of the house, as I, you know, like as she taught me to be a good cook, good, you know, good housewife, good cook, and etc, 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 good woman. So I'm almost done talking here. I tried to be on the live stream about an hour and a half just to talk about life, to express my feelings. But anyways, my wisdom to you, if you decide to have kids, make sure you have the resources and the capacity and, you know, mental capacity, and you have like physical resources and energy to, you know, to care for this child, to provide for your child. If you work, you know, you can combine, you make enough money to cover the daycare expenses. If you don't work, your husband can support you while you're taking care of the baby, and when it's time to go to free public school, you know, you can restart your career. Just have a plan, you know, just be responsible, just take a little bit of, you know, like thought, like little bit of time to think through, you know. Don't be, you know, like, don't be like, oh, whatever, I'll have a kid, I'll pop it out, you know, God gonna help me. Yeah, God gonna help you, of course, and government gonna help you, but you're still gonna have miserable life if you don't work hard, if you don't think, you know, if you don't take, you know, if you don't take responsibility for your actions and you don't provide for yourself. You can't rely on other people. You can't rely on your parents. You can't rely on your friends or on the church to, you know, raise your kid. If you choose to be a parent, you better be stable yourself, like mentally, physically, and financially. That's my wisdom to you. But in general, like in the big picture, I think it's good to have kids when you are in a stable relationship and you have a good union and you love each other and you respect each other and you can be good role model for your kids. It's very natural. It's very natural to reproduce. It's very natural. And I'm all for reproduction. But smart reproduction. Smart reproduction. So thank you for being with me. And again, like I've been thinking today, like how fortunate I am if there is a virtual reality that allows you to bring some memories from your mind. I would want to wear this like VR glasses, and I want to go back to that room when I had my babies and I laid my eyes for them for the first time, because it's like hormones, it's like nature. It makes you so vulnerable. It makes you fall in love with your little child, that like with your flesh, with your flesh, not flesh, with your flesh and, what do you say it, blood and flesh. You know, it's the best day of your life as a mother. If you bear the child for 9 months, you love it already. You love your little fetus there. You love its beating heart and everything about your child. But when you first lay your eyes on your kid, it's like a miracle. I don't know if it's hormones, if the nature made us to care, you know, if the hormones make us to care and attach. I think it's like animal instincts at some point, but, you know, like nature can play jokes on some people and they don't have this instinct. And that happens too. But I remember that was the happiest day, because you lay your eyes on your child and you think your world just became so much brighter, and you get so much love, and having kids is such a rewarding experience. And even if they grow, you have a lot of regrets, but you know, at the end of the day, you're doing your job okay. You're okay, mom. I'm telling you today, you're okay. Don't worry. Things happen. You can yell, you can be tired, you can be exhausted, you can be sick, you know. Allow yourself to be a human. And, you know, like they say on the airplane, you have to put the mask on yourself first to be able to help your kid. So make sure you take good care of yourself. You know, nobody gonna come and magically take care of yourself. Yeah, it could be your husband. Yeah, it could be a team of like assistants that work in your house. If you, I don't know, if you're fortunate enough, you have help, assistants, you have your own personal shrink, you have your own personal stylist, you have your own personal cook. I'm happy for you. But you know, it's our job to take good care of our mental abilities. It's our job to take good care of our physical, you know, body and our health. At the end of the day, we come to this world alone and we live this world alone. So I take a lot of responsibility for being who I am and like working on my shortcomings and working on my reactions to the world, working on my impulses, working on my emotions. I don't expect anybody to come and give me a magical pill, you know. I don't expect anybody to change my reality. Yeah, I expect my loved ones to make me feel loved, and today I did feel that love, like sincerely. You know, we walked around, we sat by the lake, me and my daughter, we went like, Stella is just like me. If she sees something she wants to explore, it's always like more laid back. She doesn't care. She eats, she enjoys a little bit of like different food, she stays on her phone. She's a teenager, she doesn't care. But Stella, she's like me. She observes this hammock, she observes this little bench, she observes this little, you know, like how you call it, not the seesaw, like the how you call them, how you call it, the swing. Yeah, the swing, the big seat swinging bench. She observes this and she wants to go and try it. And Stella is my best buddy, because we go, we hang in the hammock, we took pictures, we go by the lake, we check out the swing. She does her gymnastics, she shows me her like tricks, you know. And Stella is my buddy. It's always like more reserved. She doesn't care as much. She's a teenager, so I live so alone. But it's nice to have Stella as my buddy. And she was born, I believe in zodiac signs. So my daughter, my little Stella, my younger daughter, was born in the same month. I was born on August 12th and she was born on August 21st. So she's still Leo. And she's exactly like me, and she notices, and I can notice it in her, like very early age. Like she sees something, she says, Mom, let's go explore, let's go try this. So I like that in her because she doesn't miss the opportunity. I like her in her. She's like curious mind. She's like me. She notices the details and she takes the opportunity to go explore, and I like it about her. Sorry, my lips are getting so dry because I'm talking so much, so let me use a little bit of I'm gonna use a little bit of moisturizer. Okay. So we had fun, you know, and I like noticing these things in my kid, because I'm like, wow, she's exactly like me. But when I was her age, I wasn't that free. I wasn't, in my childhood, we were not personalities, like per se. We were like, our kids were so authoritative, and we were well behaved. But we didn't have as much freedom. Like my mom would say, no, don't go there alone, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I do that, but I give her a little freedom. Like, yeah, go check out this hammock. It's beautiful there. But watch out for alligators or something. So she goes, and at 11, she's capable. I can see her. She's not going to get run by a golf cart. She's on a golf course. She's in the 5-star resort. Nobody going to, you know, put her in the car and like, you know, kidnap her. So I trust them. I trust the, you know, the place, and I trust her judgment. And she goes, she said, Mom, the hammock is so fun. Let's go together, blah, blah, blah. And I like that in her because she's my buddy, you know, we can do things together. Like yesterday we went somewhere. Where did we go yesterday? Yeah. We had to return. I bought some plates and I like them, but they didn't fit my china, and because I didn't see on the picture when I bought them online, I didn't see they had a little pink tin, so I needed to return them to Macy's. And Stella went with me. I'm like, you're my buddy, let's go together. She said, can we shop? I said, not really, but we shopped a little bit because we saw those something else that was on huge sale, and there was like Christmas china, and it was like super expensive china, but she saw the snowman stacking cups and it was like $7, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So we returned something, we got money back, but we bought something just because we can't, like she's just like me. She said, I like to buy something. I'm like, I like to buy something. Like she's just like me. She's a shopaholic, but I know why, because I can understand her character, because she's my daughter and she got that gene too. So we left and we're like, who buys stuff for Christmas in June? Like it's in May, not even June. I say, yeah, because this was the stuff that saves us money. If we want to buy it in December, just before Christmas, it's going to be expensive again. But if we buy it in June, it was like 80% off in Macy's, and we're like, oh, we can't just say we don't need it. Yeah, we're just like, oh, it's a good deal. So me and Stella, we're like, we think alike. It was a really good deal. So. And I say, you're my shopping buddy, because we like to notice things like that. And we're like, oh, it's so cute. And we're both standing there like, oh, we don't want to buy anything. We just came to return. Maybe we shouldn't buy that. And then we're like, no, they're really cute. They're really in a huge sale. Like Stella doesn't miss an opportunity. And I like it in her because like, that's a part of her character later in life. If she sees the opportunity, she doesn't like to miss it. It's a good thing to have in her character. Thank you for being with me again. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for everybody who stopped by in my live stream. Again, it's Kate B from Central Florida. Thank you for supporting my channel. I'm gonna make a big video about, I'll show you more of the buffet. I'll show you more of the time we spend. Next weekend we have Zoe's birthday, and we're going to stay in a nice hotel, going to the water park, and we have an event, charity event. Me and my husband, we go into a charity event every year, so we're going to Wine Quest next weekend. I get to dress up and do my makeup again, so maybe in the hotel I do a little live stream to get ready for my event. And of course, I'm excited for next week because I got my spa finder and I'm going to a fancy spa. I'm probably gonna do my facial. I don't know, I didn't decide yet. Maybe I'll do a massage. I didn't decide yet. I'm gonna book my very special service to spend Saturday morning in the spa. So maybe I can do the live stream from like from the pool or somewhere you can see the amenities. I've done it before. It was fun. So thank you for supporting my channel. Love you all. Happy Mother's Day. I hope your Mother's Day was good, relaxing, and I hope you learn your own tricks, how to help yourself, how to be happy, how to enjoy every moment, how to kind of like take things easy and just stay relaxed and calm. And raising children is a big hard work. It's a big responsibility, but at the end of the day, they bring us joy. They make us feel fulfilled. They make us proud, and that's a lot of good emotions. That's a very rewarding experience, and we're gonna see them grow into independent adults, and we're gonna be grandparents, and that's a circle of life. I want you to enjoy circle of life and embrace and enjoy motherhood, and always give yourself a pat on the shoulder and tell yourself you're a good parent. Love you. Keep your kids safe, out of trouble. Bye bye. Love you all. Kate B, thank you for stopping by. Bye.